Welcome into the episode 13 of the Fourth and Whinges podcast. Take two, Rob. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mark. How are you?
I'm okay, but you already know that because we've already done that. Yeah, guys, we've kind of ballsed up this morning. We've just spent
stuff.
we've just spent 20 minutes or so chatting about the coaches and the coaching carousel and given some really in-depth, fantastic takes on that. And
Some of
then
our best work, I thought.
some of our best work for sure, and then realised that none of it has been recorded. So unfortunately, neither of us can bear to go through that all again. So you're going to have to just imagine. Anybody wants to know specifically our take on a role, on a person that got fired, on whatever, then get in touch because we're not spending another 20 minutes pretending like that conversation didn't happen, unfortunately. It's going to end up.
Give me a second. I'm just going to nail my flag to the mast that Jim Harbaugh is going to the Raiders. We've just finished discussing this, but this is when we figured out we weren't recording. Mark thinks it's ridiculous. So do I. But I just want to get that out there, get that in the Earth's orbit. Jim Harbaugh to the Raiders.
And Adam, apologies. I was actually being nice to the Raiders, I think, as well for a portion of that 20 minutes. And
he was, Adam, honestly.
It apparently never happened. So there we are.
Also, we did a section on the pick contest that we ran this year. So congratulations to Gaz. You were in the top 98% of everybody playing that game this year. Girth, you came in second. I think 3 games back. You're in the top 95%. And Sean, you were just 1 game back on Girth in 3rd place, and you were, I think, 94.9%. So congratulations to you 3. Mark and I were saying you guys should take over the pod.
Yeah, especially given that we can't even record it properly anymore. So I think we need to just give up and get you guys to get involved, I think. But yeah, so that's where we are. So sorry about this, guys. It's probably going to be quite a short and sweet podcast. So we've done the coaches between ourselves, and so the next thing we were going to do is we were going to just take a quick look at the basically the kind of the rankings that we had throughout the season. So going into the season, Rob and I did our kind of top 5 and bottom 5 at pre-season. We did it halfway through the season, week 9-ish, and then obviously we're at the end of the regular season now. And it's kind of interesting to see how that's kind of moved along during the season. So at the beginning, Rob, you had Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, Rams, and Green Bay as your top 5. I had Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Green Bay. So we're kind of pretty similar there at the beginning of the season. You were higher on Buffalo and the Rams. I was higher on the 2 AFC East, AFC North teams that have been pretty garbage. Then your bottom 5 were the Falcons, Giants, Eagles, Lions, and Houston bottom of your rankings. I had it slightly differently with Chicago, Las Vegas, Houston, Philadelphia, and Detroit. But it's been a season of kind of craziness, really, and so we kind of where we are now. Do you want to kind of give us your updated position, Rob, as you see it at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think first of all we should offer up a public apology to the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. We didn't believe in you. We didn't believe in Jalen Hurts. We thought you were going to be terrible, and you've managed to get into the playoffs. Very well deserved. You changed your game plan mid-season to suit Hurts' game. Hurts has looked decent. I think if they build around him, they can push on. So on behalf of the Fourth and Whinges podcast, I apologise. Another reason why we should not be doing this, I think, Mark.
It's an interesting one, though, isn't it? Because I think that's what you said, is that they started off, they didn't look great, but they've gone, well, this is why we're not great, and let's work with what we've got. Let's not work pretending we've got these other players that can't do so and so. Let's play to their strengths. And I think, that's the reason why they've improved, and that's the reason why they're in the playoffs, and that's the reason why I think it'll be a closer game this weekend than a lot of people think.
Yeah, no, definitely. So my bottom 5 now, I have the Giants bottom. I've got the Jags second bottom. Then I've got the Jets 30th, Panthers 29th, Texans 28th.
Yeah, so I'm very similar. The only difference I have is where you've got the Panthers at 29, I've got the Lions still. I think they're still down there, despite the fact that they've probably been playing harder than a lot of the other teams down there. I think ultimately their roster still isn't great, and with Jared Goff at quarterback, I don't think that's a great position. So that's the one difference. But we're very similar, really. When you think about
I would agree on Detroit. The reason that I lifted them out of there was I think they have a plan. They've got Dan Campbell. They've given him a long-term contract, and they clearly believe in him. The players have bought into his approach. He's done exactly what he said he would do in the off-season. Play hard, bite their ankles, all that kind of side of things.
Yeah.
It's paid off in a number of different games. They do have some pieces that they can build around. So I don't think this is a year for them maybe to get a quarterback, maybe take one later on. But if you've got Goff for another season, then fine. You probably have quite a high pick again next year. But you've got Penei Sewell there, who can anchor you along the offensive line. You've got DeAndre Swift when he's fully fit and everything, is one of the top running backs in the league. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has had a great close to the season. And they've got some other bits and pieces. So that just lifted them out for me. I think that they had a coherent plan. They've done what they said they would do, and they've punched above their weight. So that just lifted them out for me, really. And they've got the picks, which I know shouldn't really factor into the power rankings, but I think I kind of liked what they've done. They've obviously torn it down, but in the right way. I wouldn't say they've tanked. They've still been playing hard, and they've
They've definitely not been tanking, have they? They knew if they lose to Green Bay, there's a massive possibility they get the number one overall pick in that last week, and they certainly would have known that towards the end of their game or whatever. And there was just none of that, was there? They were not. There's not about that at all. They were about winning and playing hard, which is obviously the right way to do it. So I get all that. I do think though that they just on a man-to-man basis, I don't think they're as strong.
I agree. Yeah.
And so then offensively, the top of the league, the power rankings, we should say, we differ a little bit more up here. I think
it's broadly similar, isn't it? So I've got Green Bay 1, as do you. I don't think there's unfortunately any argument there.
No.
I've got Tampa 2nd, Kansas 3rd. You've got Kansas 2nd, Tampa 3rd, which I totally get. I totally buy. I'm not precious on which way around those are, really. I think I just having seen Brady do it so many times. I know he's lost Antonio Brown and they've got injuries on the go at the moment, but it'd be difficult. It'd be difficult for them to get past Green Bay, but I think probably the NFC just wins out for me there. 4th place, I've got Buffalo. You've got Buffalo in 5th. And then you've got New England 4th, and I've got Tennessee 5th.
Yeah, I'm still not buying into Tennessee. I think that's the takeaway from this, is that I don't see them. I don't see them. I don't see them winning their first game.
Interestingly, neither do I. But, I just think what they've done in this season, losing Derrick Henry, keeping going. I think Mike Vrabel's had a great season. I know Tannehill's looks a bit iffy in some games, but they've still managed to come through and they're the top seed in the AFC despite all their issues. And I don't believe in them either, but that's me, and I've kind of gone, this might be something not personal I have against the Titans, because I don't have anything against them, but they don't particularly excite me. But I think they deserve a lot of credit for what they've managed to do.
I mean, they absolutely deserve credit, and I think later on we'll see where I'm giving the credit there. And I think but I don't think, again, on a man-to-man basis, I just don't think they're top. I probably wouldn't even put them. I don't think I'd put them in the top 10. I just
number one seed in the AFC.
I know, and that's how crazy this season's been for me. It's the fact that they're the number one seed. I don't think they're in the top 10, and yet they have had probably their top 2 players for large parts of this season have not been available to them, and they're still the number one seed. So to me, it's all about coaching. It's not the players, it's the coaching, and as I said, that's why you'll see where I'm giving the credit later on in the episode. But I think the Patriots, for me, have I hate to say it as well as a Chiefs fan. I can't. It makes my skin crawl. I'm even saying this, but I think from where they came last year and what situation they looked in, and they threw all this money at free agency, and I'm sat there thinking, what are they doing? You know, they then go and take what everybody thought was, you know, arguably a first-round quarterback in Mac Jones that a lot of people didn't believe in Mac Jones at all, and they've done a lot better than I thought they would this year, and I have to hold my hands up there. And I just think Bill Belichick in the playoffs, it's a different kettle of fish. I just think they've done really well, and I can see them winning a game or two in the playoffs. I really can.
I refuse to acknowledge it.
Is that purely because of Mr.
Purely
Belichick?
because it's the Patriots, and purely because it's Bill Belichick. I'm not having any of it. They were, they were 27th in my power rank.
Nice. So we kind of agree in a lot of ways, I guess, with a few things. That I'm not as high on Buffalo, and I don't think I have been throughout really. Well, I suppose mid-season, I guess I did. I had them at number 3 mid-season, but I don't know. I just think there's something there. On their day, they can be fantastic. I just don't see the consistency, and then when it really, really matters, sometimes I just don't think they turn up. So I think they will struggle to beat New England this weekend. I really do. That's
a bit of a heart over head one, that one for me. I really like what they've done there. I think Sean McDermott's done an incredible job. I love Josh Allen as a player. It's always exciting. It's always interesting. I just hope that this is the season that they can do something, they can string it together. And you will see that later on in some of my predictions as well. Very much heart over head.
Fair enough. So then I guess the next point we were going to touch on is the end of season awards. So I think they don't hand these out, do they, until like the night before the Super Bowl. But I think by all accounts, I think, do they only include the regular season in the way that they do this? Is it because I'm pretty sure they don't take into consideration like playoff wins and stuff when they do these awards, right?
I don't believe so. What's interesting for me, I think if we just to sort of jump straight into MVP, we've both gone Aaron Rodgers in that one. They announced the first team All-Pros yesterday. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, I can't remember quite the split. Aaron Rodgers got 33 votes and Tom Brady got 12. And I think I'm fairly certain it's the same people that vote for vote for MVP that vote for first team All-Pro. So to me, that seems to signpost that Aaron Rodgers will be the MVP there, which is
I think they've had similar seasons. I think the problem I think that Brady will have is that they've stuttered a little bit down the stretch, and everyone, despite the fact that it's a human kind of thing that we have a recency bias, and you know, it's hard to remember how people looked in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus the last 6 weeks of the season. And just think the fact that Rodgers has looked stronger down the stretch and Green Bay have looked stronger down the stretch. And for me, the thing that is key to me as a Chiefs fan is I saw, we beat Green Bay this season. We're not winning that game if Rodgers plays. It's as simple as that. He means so much to that team. Whereas the Bucs, I think, have got a better roster. Yes. And I think if Brady was taken away from that and you had a backup in there, they'd have they'd have a stronger chance of still doing well in the playoffs than if you put Jordan Love in there for Green Bay. And I think that's, for me, what does it. That's why I give the nod to Rodgers.
I was just going to make the same point. Brady's been thrown to Mike Evans, to Chris Godwin, to Antonio Brown, to Gronk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Rodgers has got Devontae Adams, and then he's got Alan Lazard, Marcus Valdes-Scantling. Tunyon's had a terrible season. He's got just throwing touchdown passes to Josiah DeGara at tight end. So he's had to make the best of what he's had. So, that gives him the nod for me as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then, Coach of the Year. I thought, well, we've kind of both gone there. I didn't actually realise that. But, we've both gone Mike Vrabel. And I think, for all the reasons we talked about in the last bit, I think that the very fact that they're the number 1 seed, which I just still can't get my head around.
Incredible.
Even if they'd have had Henry all season and AJ Brown all season, I still would have never predicted that they would have got the number 1 seed. And to do it without Henry for pretty much the entire season, AJ Brown for a number of weeks. I think he's a huge testament to him and his coaching staff. And I think if he doesn't get it, I think it's a bit of a joke, to be honest. I think I was toying with potentially some other candidates. Again, it pains me to say it, but if you'd have told me at the start of the season that New England would have won 10 games this season, I probably would have said absolutely no way. So I think he has done a very good job. I also think that who else was it that I had quite up? Obviously, at the Eagles, you touched on it before.
So Nick Sirianni does deserve consideration. He won't win it, and he shouldn't, but he deserves a lot of credit.
He deserves to be in the conversation, doesn't he? I think. But, certainly when you think of the latter half of the year. But I think Vrabel should be the front runner, and I think he should be the one that gets it, in my view.
Yep, agreed.
Is there anything we do disagree on here? Yes, here we go. Offensive Player of the Year. I think realistically, these normally go to quarterbacks. But I think we said at the beginning of the year that we weren't going to put quarterbacks in here because they're going to probably win MVP. So therefore, we think we tried to be a little bit different here, didn't we? Do you want to go first with your offensive player?
I mean, I ummed and ahed here. I've just seen yours, and that I get it. It makes total sense given how many touchdowns he scored. Not to say anything, but mine was very much between Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor. I just think the season that Cooper Kupp's had, I know it's been a 17-game season, but the amount of records he's broken, nobody has expected it. He's just had an absolutely unbelievable season, Cooper Kupp. Definitely didn't see it coming from where he was, but for me, I think you could make an argument is he the most valuable player? Has he had the most value to that team? If we're sort of taking quarterbacks out of it, has Jonathan Taylor been more value for the Colts? Potentially, but Colts never made the playoffs. Cooper Kupp's made some absolutely huge plays and won them games, so I ultimately came down on Cooper Kupp.
I think, and I can't really say too much to disagree with you on that, to be honest. I think I wanted to, having agreed with you on a couple already, I was kind of wanting to be a little bit different, to be honest. And again, I obviously thought about Jonathan Taylor. He's had a very, very good year. But for me, I just thought I was kind of expecting it more from Jonathan Taylor in that we know he's a really, really good player, but we knew going in that he'd have a really good offensive line and that Wentz would be potentially a bit dodgy, and therefore they were probably going to rely on that running game a little bit more. So it was kind of expected, whereas James Conner, he was kind of an afterthought going into this year. He was somebody that they picked up in free agency, and I think everybody was expecting Chase Edmonds to be that. Is it Chase Edmonds to be the number one running back in Arizona? And Connor's just said, nah, I don't think so, and kind of taken that position over and being fantastic. Scored a lot of touchdowns. Yeah, maybe he's not as talented necessarily as Taylor, but it's not called the most talented player. It's the most valuable, and I think he has been extremely valuable to them winning games. The amount of touchdowns he scored. So that's kind of where I went for a little bit of a difference.
No, I like it. I can't argue with that either. To be fair, you've made a compelling argument. That wasn't sarcasm.
Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I think he's smoking something. If anybody's got anything different to this, I think TJ Watt. When you lead the league in sacks, it doesn't always mean you're the best. You're the best player by any means. Aaron Donald doesn't really lead. I know he's a different position and all that, but TJ Watt has been fantastic this year, and a big reason why the Steelers have even been competitive. He's a total not a menace. He's clearly taken over from his brother as the kind of the best Watt in the league now, and he's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I had TJ Watt as well. Tying the all-time sack record of 22.5 with Michael Strahan. That record stood for quite a long time. I was
gutted when he didn't break it though, because again, people are just going to go, it's a 17-game season. It's like, well, yeah, it was.
Stuff changes, doesn't it? You've just got to
get over it. It does.
He nearly broke it though, because it was only for a botched snap between, I forget the Baltimore center's name, and Tyler Huntley. I think they ruled it as a tackle for loss as opposed to an actual sack. So he could have had 23.5, but as it was, he sacked him in the second half.
Yeah, I just think that the game's different these days. You know, the quarterbacks, they know they have to get the ball out quicker, and it's
they
just
get a lot of protection from the officials as much as anything. So, yeah.
Exactly. So it is a different game, and yes, unless somebody goes over 22.5, they're not going to really see it as a real record. But I still think he's done a stunning job this year.
I thought it was interesting that I wrote his position down as an outside linebacker and you wrote his position down as defensive end. I thought that was.
I did notice that. I mean, yeah, he's probably more linebacker than he is defensive end, to be perfectly honest.
But that's a credit to him because he can line up wherever. That was all I was. That just goes.
Well, Sleeper have got that right then, haven't they? Because they've got him as both, haven't they? So I'm able to move him around my defense as well, so which helps from a fantasy point of view. But no, he's been really, really good. And I think if you're starting a team now and you're picking defensive players, I don't think many teams would look outside of TJ Watt as the first player on your team. That's how good he is. So. And still very young, right? He's what, 25 or something?
I think he's 27, isn't he?
Oh, is he that old now? Right, okay. But still, I mean, he's still relatively young. He's still got a good 5-6 years of being in his kind of prime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
27 is
27, right? Okay. And how about rookie of the year?
I went with Jamar Chase. That's all I'm going to say.
I think for me it was between three. You picked Jamar Chase, so I wanted to be a little bit different. I considered Mac Jones. I think he's had a really good season. However, I think he's tailed off a little bit in recent weeks. And again, that recency bias part of my brain says, well, Jamar Chase has kind of come on again, having started the year well, and then he had a bit of a dip, and then he's kind of come on again and had a ridiculous game. Obviously against us, sticks in the mind. But I went slightly differently, and I think rookie of the year again tends to go to an offensive player, tends to go to a quarterback. But I just think you've got to praise somebody who stands out as much as he has, and I've gone for Micah Parsons. I think we all, anybody who knows anything about kind of or watches any kind of college football and listens to people during the draft knew that he was a good player. He held out in 2020 from college because of COVID and stuff, so he didn't play. And there were some slight concerns over his character. So maybe he dropped a tiny bit, or people were not necessarily thinking as highly as maybe they could have been about Micah Parsons going into last year. And he's just been an absolute stud. He plays inside linebacker, but yet, he's their best edge rusher, and he's kind of like, I don't know if he leads them in sacks, but if he doesn't, he's up there. And he grades as high. I think he's in the top 5 graded linebackers in coverage, according to PFF and things like that. He's just done things all around at linebacker. He's just been absolutely immense. And I think sometimes, you just have to give it to the best player, regardless of position. And I think for me, that's been him.
I mean, I can't disagree with any of that. I was just going with it's usually an offensive player. I think Jamar Chase has had a fantastic season. I think just to jump ahead, we've both put obviously Micah Parsons for rookie defensive player of the year, and for all the reasons you've just mentioned, he's certainly 100% going to win rookie defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I think if he was to be good enough to win, if they were to go out of the box and pick him as rookie of the year, though, who do you think's behind? Who would you say outside of Micah Parsons?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think Nick Bolton's had a good year. Obviously, I watch closer as a team. He has played very, very well. Despite to say that he hasn't played like all the snaps, I think he's played about 40% of our snaps this year, something like that. Game in, game out, he's been around 40% ish. Some of that's to do with the fact that that's what happens in the NFL. Linebackers come off when you play nickel and dime or whatever, but also he's kind of been rotating between him and a couple of other players, but I think he's still had a huge impact for us, and essentially that play he made between him and Melvin Gordon
that was incredible.
He kind of sealed that game for us, and it was kind of looking a bit dodgy at that point. So I think he's had a really big impact, and I think he's certainly in my mind anyway.
No, I'll go with that. I genuinely can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I don't think there's anybody really that's jumped out to me. I will just say that I've had Micah Parsons down for pre-season, mid-season, and end of season, so I'm taking that as a win. And I know you probably did too, but you were trying to be different. So
and so then just looking kind of towards the playoffs specifically, then do you want to just kind of quickly give your kind of feelings, how you think it's going to go, who you think is going to make it through?
Yeah, I mean, given how unpredictable the season's been, I've got absolutely zero confidence whatsoever. So I started off NFC Championship with Bills at Chiefs. This time around, I've gone for Bengals at Bills. Again, just like I said earlier, heart over head. This feels like I don't take this as a personal slight. I really like the Chiefs. I was so pleased when they won the Super Bowl when we were together. I was gutted for you when they didn't win it last year. I would be very, very happy if the Chiefs won it again this year. I was just something a bit different. I think it'd be great for Buffalo to get to a Super Bowl. You know, they got to 3 back-to-back and never won it at sort of at the end of the 80s and everything with Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had Bengals at Bills. I had the Bengals knocking off obviously the Raiders, then knocking off the Tennessee Titans as well. I just think Joe Burrow's just incredibly special. He's got that partnership with Jamar Chase. I think Joe Mixon's had a great season as well. They've obviously got Higgins and Boyd at wide receiver. They're great. Jonah Williams had a good season at guard. Zach Taylor seems to have found a bit of confidence, and I could see them maybe shocking a few people and having a little bit of a run to the championship game.
It's where I think I'm glad you kind of mentioned Zach Taylor because I think he was on a little bit of a hot seat coming into this year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't perform well last year. In particular, I know Burrow got injured, which obviously doesn't help. But they've I think played above what a lot of people thought they would this year, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if he's in the conversation.
Yeah.
Or coach of the year again. I don't think he should win it, but if they go on and win the Super Bowl, it's a different kettle of fish. But as I said, I think they've already made the decision by then.
I think so.
So sorry for interrupting.
No. I think I was done there, mate. To be honest, so, I've just gone Bengals or Bills.
Bengals, Bills. So I've gone a little bit different. I've gone New England, Kansas City in the AFC Championship. I wholeheartedly believe that New England will beat the Bills, which then, because they're a lower seed, kind of throws the rest of the kind of playoffs out to yours, doesn't it? Because then I think the Chiefs playing the Bengals in the next round, and I just don't. And it was a really good game, and they deserved to beat us when we played a few weeks back. I don't see us losing to them a second time, particularly at home. Despite the fact that I agree, Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback, and those weapons that he has are really scary. I think it'll be a fantastic game if it happens, regardless. But I'd like to think that Andy Reid would have some tricks up his sleeve and maybe play it slightly differently, particularly if they're down in the 5-yard line with 2 minutes to go, and not be a total spaz like he was in the last game. Last time we played them. So that's kind of who I've gone for. I do see kind of all the other top seeds winning apart from New England, and until then, obviously, I'm not so high on Tennessee. I think they could potentially come unstuck against. I think it'll be New England that would go there in the second round. And again, I just think New England over Tennessee. Belichick over his ex-player and coach in Vrabel. I can just see it. So I have New England, Kansas City with the Chiefs winning and going on to the Super Bowl in the AFC.
Yeah,
maybe that's a bit of a Chiefs fan talking, and maybe it's what I want to see rather than what I think will happen. But hey,
I don't think you'll be far wrong, to be honest.
And then what about the NFC?
Yeah, so NFC, I've just gone Bucks at Green Bay. I've not overthought it, which is I see what you've gone for. I think they're the two best teams in the division, if not the two best teams in the NFL now. So in the division, in the conference, sorry. So
I think for me the only thing I think it will be them two in the NFC Championship game. I really do. I can't see anybody. If there was to be somebody else come out of that, are you thinking Dallas? Is that the team that you think would be the team to beat one of them?
If I'm honest, I was thinking maybe the Niners might shock a few people just the way they've been playing recently. I think the Cowboys are far superior, but given recent history, they've tended to shoot themselves in the foot a bit, to sort of panic when the lights are on them. And I just guess I don't trust them. Whereas Niners might not be as talented, but I think they're greater than the sum of their parts, and they seem to be on a little bit of a roll. If they can mix in a bit of Trey Lance as well, he had a good end to the season when he had to come in. I'm not saying he regains the job, but he gives them something different just to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, I'd like to see Arizona do well.
Oh, I would.
But it's that thing. I just don't trust them. I don't trust Kingsbury and Kyler Murray to do it when it really, really matters yet. And I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they're the team that go on a run. I'd like to see them do well. Maybe a Green Bay, Arizona NFC Championship would be a really good watch, I think. But I've kind of come round to the Dallas Cowboys over the last few years. I've never been an America's team fan. I've never really liked that tag or them. But in recent years, I think it's just probably because they've started drafting a few players that I liked. CD Lamb in particular was one of them that I loved coming out of college, and I think they've just started to Dak Prescott I like as well. And so I kind of in a way would like to see them do well. I think it's good for the NFL when some of those kind of blue blood teams, if you like, do well. Your 49ers, that's why I'd like to see the Bears do well and start playing well, because they're another one of those teams. But I just think it's going to be Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and I think it's going to be fairly straightforward, to be honest, on that side. I think the AFC is much more of a shootout, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if anybody made it from the AFC, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. Okay, so that kind of wraps up that. Is there anything else you want to touch on before I finish off with a whinge of the week?
I think just to say that we both had Green Bay winning in the Super Bowl.
Sorry, yes, we do. I've even succumbed to Aaron Rodgers at that point and said that I think I would struggle to see us beating the Green Bay with Rodgers at the helm. So unless he gets injured on his way to winning the NFC Championship game, not that I would want to see that, of course.
But he's such a lovely guy, Mark.
Yeah, he's such a lovely weirdo, isn't he? But anyway, we'll leave that there. So yeah, whinge of the week. You don't have anything to whinge about. Everything is totally fine.
I think I've kind of come to terms with the Jags' absolute shit show of a season. Lawrence at least looked good in the. I will have a little whinge actually. We're interviewing Bill O'Brien. Why? Why? What have we got to gain by interviewing Bill O'Brien? I don't want a serious answer to this, Mark. I don't want you to justify it. I don't want anything. I will not have anything said in its favour. Go on, what were you going to say?
No, what I was going to say is Bill O'Brien as a head coach, I think he's okay. He's good. Bill O'Brien as head coach thinking he's a GM and making GM decisions, bad. So if you have a GM that is strong of mind and he is clearly the GM and Bill O'Brien is the coach.
Do you mean like Trent Baalke?
Well, I don't know enough about him, to be fair. But that's I think, and also when they were on Hard Knocks, I just kind of like Bill O'Brien.
True.
He's seemingly a really nice guy. He's obviously one of his kids is special needs, I think, isn't he, or what have you, and has had a really tough life and stuff. I kind of warm to him on Hard Knocks. I think he's a good guy, but yeah, he shouldn't be making decisions when it comes to player personnel, because otherwise you'll end up like trading Trevor Lawrence for a backup running back or something if he gets involved in shit like that. But I was going to have a little whinge actually around, and of course it involves the Chiefs, so apologies. But tell me the game that is prime time for Sunday night, in your opinion.
The game that is prime time for me on Sunday night would be the Niners and the Cowboys. Exactly.
That should be the prime time game, which I'm quite happy to be asleep at when it happens, and I'll watch it the next day. The Chiefs should not be prime time playing the Pittsburgh fucking Steelers, right? We're going to mash them, and Ben's going to whinge off and waddle off into his retirement, and that's it. That doesn't need to be in prime time just because it's his last game. It's stupid. And it means I'm going to have to miss it, and I'm going to have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning to watch it before I start work. That's my whinge over with.
I worry that you've jinxed it there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was saying this to Chrissy before, right? Because like she's saying they're going to win this weekend, aren't they? They shouldn't have. I was like, yeah, of course they are. They're not going to have a problem. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, for crying out loud. And then there was kind of this silence for a few seconds, and then I said, "But if we were to lose, then we're clearly not good enough to win the Super Bowl anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it's fine."
Right, nice. I like it. Good coverage.
And if the Chiefs do get knocked out by the Steelers, then it's roll Bengals for me. I would like to see the Bengals then go on and win it personally.
I mean, my ideal Super Bowl would be the Bengals versus the Cardinals. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
That'd be a really good one.
Yeah,
2 young quarterbacks dueling it out. I think that would be superb. It's not going to happen, but I'd like to see it.
No. Right then, anything else you want to touch on before we?
I mean, there's probably any number of things, but no, I think just to say thanks for keeping me company most of this season. It's a shame we've not managed to make it work as much as we could. Hopefully, I think some of the ones that I enjoyed the most were last season. It was obviously a lot easier when we were in lockdown. We couldn't go out. It was nice just having something to look forward to, being able to dissect things with my mate and have a bit of a chat. I think we both enjoyed the draft process last time. So let's hope that we come back sort of after the Super Bowl, we'll do a bit of a recap, and then we'll move into draft season. We'll certainly do our mock draft the same as we did last season. I'm looking forward to that.
That'd be cool to do that. I really enjoyed doing that live and kind of how we both kind of did that and commenting on things as we went through. I thought it was quite cool. I'd like to do a bit through the off season in terms of leading up to the draft as well. However, I'm quite nervous about doing that again, given that the only people that really listen to us here on this podcast are our rivals in our fantasy football league. And so I'm just not going to sit there and give you my rankings before we draft. I'm just not going to do that. So I don't know how exactly we're going to be able to do that and make it work, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I think Carson's strong number one overall. That's all I'll say.
If we can make that happen, that would be sweet. I was going to say something else then as well, but it's gone. I think it's gone. So never mind. We will call it a day. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'm sorry that you missed out on all the really crucial, intelligent stuff we said for the first half.
It was incredible.
Recorded. Could have went on to win us a BAFTA or something. I don't know. But,
I mean, what could have been? Yeah.
What could have been indeed. Right, and with that fourth down conversion, we will call it a day on the Fourth and Whinges podcast. See you later, guys.
See you later.